Okay, Reddit. I never thought I'd be posting here. I've been lurking on this sub for years, reading other people's nightmare stories and thinking, thank God that's not me. Well, guess what? Now it's my turn. I'm a 34-year-old paramedic, and my wife Ashley, 31, just blew up our entire life. I need to get this off my chest because I've been carrying this weight for months and it's crushing me. Ashley and I have been together for 7 years, married for 5. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue, and I swear it felt like one of those rom-com moments. She was funny, smart, ambitious, and gorgeous. We clicked immediately. Within 6 months, we were living together. Within 2 years, we were married. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. Hell, I believed it too. She worked in real estate, I worked as a paramedic. Our schedules were crazy, but we made it work. She'd leave me little notes before her open houses. I'd surprise her with her favorite Thai food after my overnight shifts. We had inside jokes. We traveled when we could afford it. We talked about buying a bigger house and maybe starting a family in a few years. It all felt solid, stable, real. But around 4 months ago, something changed. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. My job exposes me to the worst of humanity every single day, so maybe I was just projecting. Maybe I was seeing problems where there weren't any. But the thing is, when you know someone for 7 years, you notice when they start acting different. And Ashley, she was acting different.
The first thing I noticed was her phone. Ashley had never been weird about her phone before. It would sit on the kitchen counter, face up, battery dying half the time because she'd forget to charge it. If I picked it up to hand it to her, she'd barely glance up. No big deal. But suddenly, about 4 months ago, that changed. She started carrying it everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Bathroom? Phone. Folding laundry? Phone in her back pocket. Making coffee? Phone clutched in her hand like it was glued there. One morning I joked, "What, you got a secret boyfriend texting you or something?" She laughed it off and said, "Yeah, right, it's just work stuff. Clients are super needy right now." Okay, fine. Real estate is demanding, I get it. But then she added a passcode, a long one. She'd never had one before, and when I casually asked why, she said something vague about security and how she'd read an article about phone hacking. I didn't push it, but it felt off. And then came the calls. She started taking them outside, like literally leaving the room mid-conversation, walking out onto our back porch even if it was freezing, just to talk in private. If I asked who it was, she'd say, "Oh, just a client or just my mom." But her mom would text me separately asking how we were doing, so I knew that wasn't always true. And then there was the sex, or lack of it. Look, I'm not saying we were going at it like teenagers every night, but we had a healthy sex life. At least we used to. Suddenly, she was too tired or stressed about work or not in the mood. When I tried to initiate, she'd pull away and make some excuse. But weirdly, she'd also started dressing differently. New lingerie that I never saw her wear around me. Expensive stuff, lacy, black, red. Things that didn't match her usual style. One night I found a receipt in her purse while looking for the car keys. Dinner at an upscale steakhouse downtown. $180. I had never been there with her. When I asked about it, she said it was a client dinner and she'd be reimbursed. But something about the way she said it, too quick, too defensive, made my stomach drop.
Lies started piling up. Small things at first, but they added up. She said she was showing a property on a Saturday afternoon, but when I drove past the address she mentioned, the house was dark and there was a sold sign out front. She claimed she had a late meeting on a Tuesday, but her calendar notification popped up on our shared iPad and there was nothing scheduled. I started paying closer attention. I know that sounds creepy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I noticed she'd started talking about this guy named Derek. My work mentor, she called him.
According to her, Derek was this amazing top-performing agent who was helping her close bigger deals and teaching her advanced negotiation tactics. She'd mention him constantly. Derek said I should focus on luxury listings. Derek thinks I should get my broker's license. Derek invited me to this networking event. At first, I thought, okay, maybe she just admires the guy. But the way she said his name, with this little smile, this light in her eyes, it made my skin crawl. Then I found the perfume, a bottle of Tom Ford sitting on her dresser. I'd never bought it for her. When I asked where it came from, she said, "Oh, I treated myself. I've been working so hard I deserve something nice." But the thing is, Ashley never bought herself expensive perfume. She always said it was a waste of money. So why now? One night I couldn't sleep. I got up around 2 a.m. and I saw her phone lighting up on the nightstand. She was dead asleep next to me. I know I shouldn't have, but I picked it up. It was locked, obviously, but I could see the notification preview. A text from D that said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear that thing I like." My blood went cold. I stood there in the dark, holding her phone, trying to convince myself there was some innocent explanation. Maybe D was a client. Maybe that thing I like was a professional outfit for a showing. But deep down, I knew. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. I'm not the kind of guy who flies off the handle or makes accusations without evidence. So I decided to dig. A few days later, Ashley asked me to grab her sunglasses from her car. She was getting ready for a showing, running late, frantic as usual. I went out to her SUV, opened the driver's door, and popped open the glove compartment. That's when I saw it. A phone. Not her regular iPhone. A cheap Android burner, the kind you buy at a gas station with cash. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. Why the hell would she have a second phone? I pressed the power button. It was unlocked, no passcode, and what I saw made me feel like I was going to throw up. Text messages, dozens of them, all between her and someone saved as D. I scrolled through, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. The messages were explicit, not just flirty, but graphic. Photos she'd sent, lingerie pics, topless shots, videos I couldn't bring myself to watch. And his responses? "God, you're so sexy. I need you. Tonight was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." I scrolled further back. The messages went back 6 months. 6 months. This wasn't some recent fling or one-time mistake. This was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying to my face the entire time. I took photos of everything with my own phone. Screenshots of the texts, pictures of the phone itself, everything. Then I put the burner back exactly where I found it, grabbed her sunglasses, and walked back inside. She was standing in the kitchen, checking her makeup and her phone camera. "Got them," I said, handing her the sunglasses. My voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from someone else. "Thanks, babe," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "I'll be home around 8. Love you." "Love you too," I lied. The second she left, I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the photos on my phone. I felt numb, betrayed, furious, heartbroken, all of it at once. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I couldn't just sit on this information. I needed undeniable proof. The kind of proof that would hold up if this went to court, if she tried to spin some story about me being the problem. So I made a decision that felt insane at the time, but turned out to be the smartest thing I ever did. I was going to follow her. 3 nights later, Ashley told me she had an evening showing for a high-value client interested in a waterfront property. She'd be gone until around 10 p.m., maybe later. She kissed me goodbye, grabbed her portfolio, and headed out. I waited exactly 5 minutes. Then I followed.
I'm a paramedic, not a private investigator, so I had no idea what I was doing. I stayed a few cars back, praying she wouldn't notice my truck. She drove across town, but she didn't go to any waterfront property. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of a Marriott, a hotel. My stomach lurched. I parked on the opposite side of the lot, slouched down in my seat, and watched. Ashley got out of her car, checked her phone, and walked toward the lobby entrance. She wasn't carrying her portfolio. She wasn't dressed for a showing. She was wearing a tight black dress I'd never seen before, heels that made her legs look a mile long, and her hair was down in those loose waves she only did for special occasions. I felt like I was going to be sick. 10 minutes later, a silver BMW pulled into the lot. I didn't need to see the license plate to know who it was. Derek. He stepped out, looked around like he was checking to make sure no one was watching, and walked straight toward the lobby. I grabbed my phone and started recording. The video was shaky, but it was clear enough. They met Ashley just outside the entrance, and they kissed. Not a friendly peck, a full, passionate, hands-all-over-each-other kiss. Then they disappeared inside together. I sat there for 2 hours. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to storm in there, kick down the door, and confront them both. But another part of me knew that would only make things worse. So I waited. I took more photos. I documented everything. The time they went in, the time they came out. At 9:47 p.m., they walked out together, kissed again by their cars, and left separately. Ashley came home at 10:30 p.m. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV. She walked in, kicked off her heels, and sighed. "How was the showing?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Exhausting," she said, rubbing her neck. "Client was super picky. We looked at 3 properties. I'm wiped." 3 properties. Not a hotel room. Not Derek's hands all over her. 3 properties. "Sounds rough," I said. "Yeah," she leaned down and kissed the top of my head. "I'm gonna shower and head to bed." I watched her walk away, and I realized something terrifying. She was a really, really good liar. If I hadn't followed her, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have believed every word. The next day, Ashley went to work like nothing had happened. I called in sick. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. I spent the morning sitting at our kitchen table, staring at the photos and videos on my phone, trying to process what I'd seen. But then I remembered something. The shared computer in our home office. Ashley used it sometimes for work stuff, and we'd never bothered setting up separate user accounts. I opened it up and started digging. Her browser history was mostly real estate listings, email, social media. But then I found something hidden in the Documents folder, a file titled Personal Notes, Private. I opened it. It was a journal, a detailed, dated journal documenting our marriage. But it wasn't a sweet diary about our memories together. It was a hit list. Every entry was about something I had supposedly done wrong, things I didn't even remember, or things that had been twisted beyond recognition. March 15. Brandon snapped at me when I asked him to take out the trash. He's becoming increasingly hostile and controlling. I remembered that day. I hadn't snapped. I said, "Yeah, I'll get it in a sec," because I was literally in the middle of saving someone's life over the phone, walking a panicked caller through CPR while waiting for the ambulance to arrive. But in her version, I was hostile and controlling. April 3. Brandon refused to attend my work event. He's isolating me from my colleagues and doesn't support my career. That event was on my mom's birthday. I'd asked Ashley if we could skip it so we could have dinner with my family, and she'd said, "Yeah, no problem." Now, apparently, I was isolating her. April 20. Brandon accused me of spending too much money. He's financially controlling and makes me feel guilty for treating myself. I'd asked her about a $400 charge to Nordstrom that I didn't recognize. That's it. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just asked. There were dozens of entries like this. Page after page of fabricated incidents, exaggerated arguments, and outright lies. She was building a case against me, documenting evidence of emotional abuse so she could use it in the divorce, so she could make me look like the villain while she walked away with everything. I took screenshots of every page. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just cheating anymore. This was calculated, premeditated. She was setting me up to destroy me. But then I found something even worse. At the bottom of the folder was another document titled Financials Tracking. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was a spreadsheet. Every asset we owned. The house, our savings accounts, my retirement fund, our cars. She'd listed the estimated value of everything, calculated what her half would be, and written notes in the margin like, should be able to claim spousal support, research precedent, and house equity equals $140K, half equals $70K. She wasn't just planning to leave me, she was planning to financially ruin me. And the creepiest part? At the bottom of the spreadsheet, she'd written, target date, June 1. That was only 6 weeks away. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like I was in some kind of psychological thriller. The woman I'd loved for 7 years had been systematically planning my destruction, and I had no idea.
The next day, Ashley went to work like nothing had happened. I called in sick. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. I spent the morning sitting at our kitchen table, staring at the photos and videos on my phone, trying to process what I'd seen. But then I remembered something. The shared computer in our home office. Ashley used it sometimes for work stuff, and we'd never bothered setting up separate user accounts. I opened it up and started digging. Her browser history was mostly real estate listings, email, social media, but then I found something hidden in the Documents folder, a file titled Personal Notes, Private. I opened it. It was a journal, a detailed, dated journal documenting our marriage, but it wasn't a sweet diary about our memories together. It was a hit list. Every entry was about something I had supposedly done wrong, things I didn't even remember, or things that had been twisted beyond recognition. March 15th, Brandon snapped at me when I asked him to take out the trash. He's becoming increasingly hostile and controlling. I remembered that day. I hadn't snapped. I'd said, yeah, I'll get it in a sec, because I was literally in the middle of saving someone's life over the phone, walking a panicked caller through CPR while waiting for the ambulance to arrive. But in her version, I was hostile and controlling. April 3rd, Brandon refused to attend my work event. He's isolating me from my colleagues and doesn't support my career. That event was on my mom's birthday. I'd asked Ashley if we could skip it so we could have dinner with my family, and she'd said, yeah, no problem. Now, apparently, I was isolating her. April 20th, Brandon accused me of spending too much money. He's financially controlling and makes me feel guilty for treating myself. I'd asked her about a $400 charge to Nordstrom that I didn't recognize. That's it. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just asked. There were dozens of entries like this, page after page of fabricated incidents, exaggerated arguments, and outright lies. She was building a case against me, documenting evidence of emotional abuse so she could use it in the divorce, so she could make me look like the villain while she walked away with everything. I took screenshots of every page. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just cheating anymore. This was calculated, premeditated. She was setting me up to destroy me. But then I found something even worse. At the bottom of the folder was another document titled Financials Tracking. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was a spreadsheet. Every asset we owned. The house, our savings accounts, my retirement fund, our cars.
She'd listed the estimated value of everything, calculated what her half would be, and written notes in the margin like, should be able to claim spousal support, research precedent, and house equity equals $140K, half equals $70K. She wasn't just planning to leave me, she was planning to financially ruin me. And the creepiest part? At the bottom of the spreadsheet, she'd written target date, June 1st. That was only 6 weeks away. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like I was in some kind of psychological thriller. The woman I'd loved for 7 years had been systematically planning my destruction, and I had no idea.
I needed to know exactly how deep this went, so I started going through our finances with a fine-tooth comb. I logged into every bank account, every credit card, every investment account we had. And what I found was worse than I'd imagined. Over the past 4 months, Ashley had been draining our joint savings account. Not all at once, because that would have been obvious, but in small, strategic increments. $500 here, $800 there. Sometimes she'd wait a week, sometimes 2, but it was consistent. When I added it all up, she'd pulled out $11,200 in cash. But here's the thing. I couldn't find where the money had gone. It wasn't in her personal checking account. It wasn't on any credit card. She'd withdrawn it as cash, and it had disappeared. Then I found the separate account. I only discovered it by accident. I was looking through old emails, searching for a receipt, when I came across a bank notification from an institution we didn't use. Your account ending in 7743 has been credited $500. The email was addressed to Ashley, dated 3 months ago. I searched her email for that bank's name and found the statements. She'd opened a secret account at a credit union across town, an account I knew nothing about, and she'd been funneling money into it, not just the cash withdrawals from our joint account, but also money from her real estate commissions that should have been going into our shared savings. The current balance? $18,600. $18,000, hidden, secret, money she was stashing away for her new life with Derek. I felt the rage building in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just a woman who'd fallen out of love and made a stupid mistake. This was theft. This was fraud. This was a calculated, deliberate plan to betray me in every possible way. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did something I'd learned from reading stories on this very subreddit. I protected myself. I called my lawyer. Well, not my lawyer, because I'd never needed one before, but a buddy from my paramedic crew had gone through a messy divorce a few years back, and he gave me the name of the attorney who'd helped him. I made an appointment for the next day. The attorney's name was Paul, and he was exactly what I needed. Calm, experienced, and ruthless. I showed him everything. The burner phone screenshots, the hotel surveillance video, the fabricated journal entries, the hidden bank account, the divorce lawyer consultations, all of it. Paul leaned back in his chair and let out a low whistle. "She's playing for keeps," he said. "But here's the good news. She has no idea you know. That gives us the advantage." "What do I do?" I asked. "First, you secure your assets immediately. Open a separate account in your name only and start diverting your paychecks there. Second, we document everything, and I mean everything. If she takes a phone call outside, you note the time and date. If she claims to be working late, you verify it. Third, we prepare for war, because when you confront her, and you will, she's going to come at you hard, and we need to be ready." I followed his advice to the letter. I opened a new account at a different bank and rerouted my direct deposit. I started keeping a detailed log of her lies. I backed up every piece of evidence to 3 separate cloud accounts. And then I made one more move. I installed a video doorbell.
Ashley didn't question it. I told her it was for security after there'd been some car break-ins in the neighborhood, and she just nodded and said, "Good idea." But what she didn't know was that the camera also covered our driveway and front porch, and it had a motion sensor that recorded everything. 2 weeks later, I was working a night shift, 12-hour overnight, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Ashley knew my schedule. She knew I wouldn't be home. At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert from the doorbell camera. I was in the ambulance, parked outside the ER, finishing up paperwork. I opened the app. Derek's BMW was in our driveway. I watched, frozen, as Ashley opened the front door and let him in. They kissed in the doorway. Then they went inside. My house. Our home. I sat there in the ambulance, my partner asking if I was okay, and I couldn't speak. I just kept staring at the screen. At 11:23 p.m., another motion alert. They came outside, half-dressed, laughing. He kissed her again, got in his car, and left. She'd brought him into our home, into our bed. I saved the video, and I knew exactly what I had to do.
I didn't go home after my shift ended. I couldn't. I sat in my truck in the hospital parking lot, replaying that doorbell footage over and over, feeling like my insides were being ripped out. But somewhere in the middle of that pain, a cold clarity settled in. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to end this on my terms. I called Paul, my lawyer, at 8 a.m. He answered on the second ring. "I have video evidence of her bringing him into our house," I said, "while I was at work." There was a pause, then, "Send it to me, now, and don't delete anything." I forwarded the video. 10 minutes later, Paul called back. "This is exactly what we needed," he said. "Adultery, marital misconduct, and she did it in the marital home. In some states, that can affect asset division. But more importantly, it destroys any credibility she has. Those fake journal entries about you being abusive? Meaningless. She's the one who violated the marriage." "So what now?" I asked. "Now we set the trap. You go home, you act normal. You don't let her know that you know. And when the time is right, we spring it." I went home. Ashley was in the kitchen, making coffee, wearing my old college hoodie like she always did on lazy mornings. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey, babe, how was your shift?" "Long, but fine." "I missed you," she said, walking over and wrapping her arms around me. I stood there, letting her hug me, and I felt absolutely nothing. No love, no anger, just emptiness. "Missed you too," I lied. Over the next week, I played the role of the oblivious husband perfectly. I asked about her day, I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, I even suggested we have a date night, and she agreed. We went to dinner, sat across from each other at some Italian restaurant, and made small talk like we were strangers. But the whole time, I was waiting, watching, planning. Then, one Friday night, Ashley told me she had a late showing and wouldn't be home until around 11 p.m. I told her I'd probably be asleep by the time she got back. She kissed me, grabbed her purse, and left. I waited 30 minutes. Then I called my partner from work, Jake, and asked him to cover for me if anyone asked. I told him I had a family emergency. He didn't ask questions. Then I drove home. I parked my truck 2 blocks away and walked back to the house, staying in the shadows. Derek's BMW was already in the driveway. The doorbell camera had recorded him arriving at 8:15 p.m. I stood outside my own house, heart pounding, and pulled out my keys. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could and stepped inside. The lights were off, but I could hear them upstairs, in our bedroom. The sounds made my stomach churn, but I forced myself to stay calm. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Audio evidence, just in case. Then I walked upstairs. The bedroom door was half open. I could see them in the dim light from the hallway. Ashley was on top of Derek, her back to the door, completely unaware I was there.
For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, watching my entire life disintegrate in front of me. Then, I cleared my throat. "Hey, Ashley." She screamed, a high-pitched, primal scream that could have woken the dead. She scrambled off Derek, grabbing for the sheet, her face a mask of pure terror. Derek sat up, eyes wide, looking like he might have a heart attack right there in my bed. "Brandon, oh my God, Brandon, what are you doing home?" I finished. "It's my house. I live here, remember?" My voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just stood there, phone in hand, recording every second. "Brandon, this isn't what it looks like, really, because it looks like you're having sex with Derek in our bed. Is that not what's happening?" Derek scrambled to pull his pants on, nearly falling over in the process. "Man, I didn't know—" "You didn't know she was married?" I said, my voice still eerily calm. "Interesting, because your wife probably thinks you didn't know either." His face went white. "Get out. Now. Before I call the cops and report you for trespassing." He didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his shirt, his shoes, and bolted past me, practically falling down the stairs. I heard the front door slam a few seconds later. Then it was just me and Ashley. Part 10. The Confrontation. Ashley sat on the edge of the bed, the sheet wrapped around her, tears streaming down her face. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not even a little. "Brandon, please, let me explain." "Explain? Okay. Explain. I'm listening." She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I didn't mean for me to find out. Yeah, I figured that part out. What were you planning? How long were you going to keep this going? It's not what you think." "Stop," I said, my voice hard now. "Don't insult me. I know everything. I know about the burner phone. I know about the hotel. I know about the secret bank account. I know you've been documenting fake abuse stories to use against me in the divorce. I know you've been planning to leave me and take everything. So don't you dare stand there and tell me this isn't what I think." Her face went from terrified to shocked to something else, something cold. "You went through my things," she said, her voice rising. "You invaded my privacy?" I actually laughed. "You're seriously going to play the victim right now? You've been screwing another man for 6 months, stealing money from our joint account, and planning to leave me while painting me as an abuser, and you're mad that I looked at your computer? You had no right." "I had every right," I shouted, finally losing my composure. "You're my wife, or at least you were supposed to be." She flinched, but then her expression hardened. "You want to know the truth, Brandon? Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Derek. Yes, I was planning to leave you. And you know why? Because you're never here. You're always working, always exhausted, always too tired to do anything. I felt alone, ignored, abandoned. So you cheated on me? I found someone who actually paid attention to me, someone who made me feel special, who listened to me, who made time for me. Derek understands me in ways you never did. Derek is married with 2 kids, and the second his wife finds out, which she will, he's going to lose everything, just like you." She stood up, still clutching the sheet. "What are you talking about?" "I have evidence, Ashley. Photos, videos, bank statements, your fake journal, all of it. And my lawyer has copies. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to move out. Tonight. You're going to take your personal things, and you're going to leave. And if you try to come after my assets, if you try to claim spousal support, if you even think about dragging me through court, I will make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you did." Her face went pale. "You wouldn't. Try me." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she did something I didn't expect. She started crying. Not angry crying. Broken, desperate crying. "Brandon, please, I made a mistake. I know I did, but we can work through this. We can go to therapy. We can—" "No," I said. "We can't. Because you didn't make a mistake, Ashley. You made a choice, over and over and over again.
and now you have to live with the consequences." She dropped to her knees. "Brandon, please, I'm begging you. I love you. I don't want to lose you. You should have thought about that before you brought him into our house." I turned and walked out of the room. She called after me, screaming, begging, but I didn't stop. I went downstairs, grabbed my keys, and drove back to my truck. I sat there for a long time, hands shaking, heart racing, trying to process what just happened. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. "I'll do anything. Please don't leave me." I blocked her number. I drove to my buddy Jake's house that night. He let me crash on his couch, no questions asked at first, but after I'd had a beer and sat staring at the wall for 20 minutes, he finally said, "You gonna tell me what happened, or are we just gonna sit here in silence?" So I told him everything. The affair, the secret bank account, the fake journal, catching them in our bed. He listened without interrupting, his expression getting darker with every detail. "Jesus Christ," he said when I finished. "I always thought Ashley was cool. I had no idea she was capable of something like that." Well, neither did I. My phone started ringing. Ashley. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined. Then a text came through. I hadn't blocked her on Jake's Wi-Fi since I'd only blocked her on cellular. "Please come home. We need to talk. I can explain everything." Then another. "Brandon, don't do this. You're throwing away 7 years over one mistake." Then, "Fine, don't answer, but you're going to regret this." The messages kept coming. Over the next hour, she sent 43 texts. They alternated between begging, threatening, and trying to manipulate me. Some were apologies, some were accusations, some were her trying to blame me for pushing her away. Then the calls started coming from unknown numbers. She was using different phones, trying to get me to pick up. I blocked each one. Around 2 a.m., Jake's doorbell rang. We both looked at each other. "You think that's her?" Jake asked. "Probably." He went to the door and looked through the peephole. "Yep, it's her." Ashley's voice came through the door, muffled but desperate. "Brandon, I know you're in there. Please, just talk to me. I'm sorry. I made a huge mistake." Jake looked at me. "You want me to tell her to leave?" "Yeah." He opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock on. "Ashley, he doesn't want to talk to you. You need to go home." "I need to talk to my husband." "He's not your husband anymore. Leave or I'm calling the cops." She tried to push against the door, but Jake held it firm. Brandon, please, I love you. I'll end things with Derek. We can fix this." I walked to the door so she could see me through the crack. Her face was a mess. Mascara streaks, red eyes, hair disheveled. "Ashley, go home," I said quietly. "No, not until you listen to me." "There's nothing to listen to. We're done." "Brandon, please." Her voice broke. "Please don't do this. I'll do anything. Just give me another chance." And then she said something that made my skin crawl. "I'll prove it to you. Come home with me right now. Let me show you how much I love you. We can have sex. We can reconnect. I felt bile rise in my throat. She was trying to use sex to manipulate me after I just caught her with another man? "No," I said, my voice hard. "Go home, Ashley. Don't contact me again." I shut the door. She pounded on it for another 5 minutes, screaming and crying, until Jake threatened to call the police. Finally, she left. But the messages didn't stop. Over the next 3 days, she sent hundreds of texts, voicemails, emails. She showed up at the hospital where I worked, trying to corner me in the parking lot. Security had to escort her off the property. She called my mom, sobbing, saying I'd abandoned her and she didn't know what to do. My mom called me immediately. "Brandon, what the hell is going on?" I told her a condensed version, and her tone changed instantly. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, honey. Do you need anything?" "Just keep her away from me." The breaking point came on day 4. I'd gone back to the house during the day while Ashley was supposed to be at work, planning to grab more of my things. But when I pulled up, Derek's car was in the driveway again. I walked in, and they were in the living room, not having sex this time, but arguing loudly. "I told you he knows everything," she was shouting. "He has evidence. My lawyer says I'm screwed." "Then maybe you shouldn't have been so sloppy," Derek shot back. They both froze when they saw me standing in the doorway. "Get out of my house," I said to Derek. "It's not your house," she snapped. "It's our house. I have just as much right to be here as you do." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "according to my lawyer, since I have video evidence of you committing adultery in the marital home, I can file a restraining order and have you removed. So unless you want the cops showing up and dragging you out in handcuffs, I suggest you both leave, now." Derek grabbed his jacket and bolted without a word. Ashley stood there trembling with rage. "You think you're so smart," she hissed. "You think you've won, but I will take you for everything you have. I will destroy you." "Good luck with that," I said. "My lawyer's already filed the paperwork. Divorce on grounds of adultery. Oh, and one more thing. Derek's wife, she knows now. I sent her the evidence this morning." Ashley's face went white. "You didn't." "I did. She's filing for divorce too, and she's going for full custody of the kids, so I hope your little affair was worth it." She screamed, an incoherent primal scream of rage and despair. Then she grabbed a lamp off the side table and threw it at me. I dodged, and it shattered against the wall. "You ruined everything," she shrieked. "This is all your fault. If you had just been a better husband, none of this would have happened." I didn't respond. I just turned and walked out, leaving her standing there in the wreckage of the life she'd destroyed. Ashley moved in with Derek 3 days later. Not that she had much choice. I'd changed the locks on the house, and my lawyer had filed an emergency motion to grant me exclusive use of the marital home based on the evidence of adultery and her violent outburst. I had documented the thrown lamp and taken photos of the broken glass. She'd shown up with a police escort to collect her things. I'd been at work, but Jake had let me know she'd taken her clothes, some furniture, and, oddly, several photo albums. The framed pictures of us that had been all over the house, gone, like she was trying to erase the evidence that we'd ever been happy. But the real fallout was just beginning. Ashley's lawyer had clearly advised her to go scorched earth because 2 weeks later I received a petition that was absolutely insane. She was demanding 50% of the house equity, $70,000, 50% of my retirement account, $43,000, 50% of our savings, even though she'd already stolen most of it, spousal support of $1,800 a month for 3 years, her car paid off, which was in both our names, and, this one killed me, $15,000 for emotional distress. The total? Over $180,000 for a woman who'd cheated on me, stolen from me, and tried to frame me as an abuser. My lawyer, Paul, actually laughed when he read it. She's delusional, or her lawyer's incompetent. Either way, we're going to tear this apart. But the financial demands weren't the worst part. The worst part was what she was telling people. Our mutual friends started reaching out, confused and concerned. "Hey man, Ashley said you were abusive and that's why she left. What's going on?" "Brandon, Ashley told us you had an affair and kicked her out when she confronted you. Is that true?" "Dude, I heard you threatened her. Are you okay?" She was spinning an entire narrative, painting herself as the victim and me as the villain. And some people believed her. Not everyone. My close friends knew better, but enough people that I started getting weird looks at the grocery store, at the gym, anywhere we'd been regulars as a couple. The breaking point came when my own cousin called me, upset. "Brandon, I just got off the phone with Ashley. She's saying you hit her, that you've been physically abusive for years. Is this true?" I felt my blood pressure spike. "Are you seriously asking me that?" She sounded really convincing, and "I have never laid a hand on her," I said through gritted teeth. "Not once in 7 years. She's lying, and if she keeps spreading that lie, she's going to be dealing with a defamation lawsuit on top of the divorce."
I called Paul immediately and told him what she was saying. He was silent for a long moment. Okay, this changes things. False allegations of abuse are serious. We need to document every instance of her saying this, get statements from anyone she's told, and we're going to file a motion to depose her under oath. If she's willing to lie about this to your friends and family, she'll lie in court. We need to shut this down now. Over the next week, I reached out to everyone Ashley had contacted. About half of them agreed to give written statements about what she'd told them. The other half didn't want to get involved, which I understood, but the statements we did get were damning. Ashley told Brandon was emotionally and physically abusive and that she'd been terrified to leave him. She said Brandon controlled all the money and wouldn't let her have access to our accounts. Ashley claimed Brandon had been cheating on her with a coworker and given her an STD. That last one was so absurd that it would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. I'd been faithful our entire marriage, and I'd never even had a close female coworker she could have been referring to. But the lies kept coming. She posted vague messages on social media. Sometimes the person you trust most is the one who hurts you the worst, and starting over after trauma is scary but necessary. Her friends ate it up, flooding the comments with support. "You're so brave. You deserve better. Stay strong, girl." Meanwhile, Derek's life was imploding. His wife had filed for divorce and was going for everything. The house, the kids, alimony, child support, all of it. Word got around at their real estate office, and both Derek and Ashley were suddenly persona non grata. Clients started dropping them, deals fell through, their reputations were tanking. I didn't feel bad for them, not even a little.
The mediation hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks after I'd caught them together. Ashley showed up with her lawyer, a slick-looking guy in an expensive suit who clearly thought he was going to steamroll me. Ashley herself looked different, thinner, harder, like the stress was eating her alive. Good. The mediator, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, started by outlining the process. Each side would present their position, we'd negotiate, and hopefully reach a settlement without going to trial. Ashley's lawyer went first. He laid out her demands again, adding some flowery language about how Ashley had sacrificed her prime earning years to support Brandon's career, a complete lie. I'd been a paramedic the entire time we'd been together, and she'd always made more money than me, and how she was entitled to maintain the lifestyle she'd become accustomed to. Then he dropped the bomb. Additionally, my client has documented evidence of emotional and verbal abuse spanning several years. She has a detailed journal documenting incidents of controlling behavior, financial manipulation, and hostile outbursts. This pattern of abuse is relevant to the asset division and spousal support determination. The mediator looked at me. "Mr. Hayes, do you have a response to these allegations?" Paul smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a shark about to feast. "Yes, we do," he said. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "First, let's address the alleged abuse. My client has never been abusive. What Ms. Chen is referring to is a fabricated journal that she created specifically to support a false narrative. We have evidence that this journal was created retrospectively and contains demonstrable lies." He slid a stack of papers across the table. "These are screenshots of the journal entries along with evidence refuting each claim. For example, Ms. Chen claims that on March 15th, my client became hostile when she asked him to take out the trash. But on March 15th, Mr. Hayes was working a 12-hour shift at the hospital and wasn't even home. Here's his time card proving it." Ashley's lawyer looked at the papers, his confidence visibly wavering. "Furthermore," Paul continued, "we have evidence that Miss Chen has been conducting an extramarital affair for at least 6 months.
Here are the text messages from the burner phone she used to communicate with her paramour, Derek Chen. He slid another stack across the table. The mediator picked them up and started reading, her expression darkening. We also have video evidence of Miss Chen and Mr. Chen entering a hotel on multiple occasions. And, most damningly, we have video evidence of Miss Chen bringing Mr. Chen into the marital home when Mr. Hayes was at work, where they engaged in sexual activity in the marital bed. He pulled out a laptop, opened it, and turned it toward the mediator. The doorbell camera footage played. Ashley's face went bright red. Additionally, Paul said, Miss Chen opened a secret bank account and transferred over $18,000 from the marital savings without Mr. Hayes' knowledge or consent. Here are the bank statements proving it. More papers slid across the table. She also researched divorce attorneys and began planning to leave the marriage while simultaneously draining marital assets and fabricating abuse allegations to strengthen her position. This is documented in her own computer files, which Mr. Hayes discovered on their shared home computer. The mediator looked at Ashley's lawyer. "Do you have any response to this?" He looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. We were not aware of the extent of, my client may have been." "Your client lied to you," Paul said flatly, "just like she lied to her husband, her friends, her family, and everyone else. There is no abuse. There is no victim. There is only a woman who cheated on her husband, stole from him, and tried to destroy his reputation to cover her own misconduct." The room was silent, except for the sound of Ashley crying. Not the manipulative crying she'd done before. This was the crying of someone who knew they were caught. The mediator closed the folder. "Miss Chen, I'm going to give you and your attorney a moment to confer, but I'll tell you right now, based on what I've seen, you have no grounds for any of the demands you've made. In fact, you're lucky Mr. Hayes isn't countersuing for the money you stole." Ashley's lawyer asked for a recess. They stepped outside, and I could hear them arguing through the door. When they came back 20 minutes later, Ashley looked defeated. "My client is willing to accept a no-fault divorce. She'll waive all claims to assets, spousal support, and the house in exchange for keeping her personal vehicle and retirement account." Paul looked at me. I nodded. "Agreed," Paul said, "but with one additional condition. Miss Chen will sign a non-disparagement agreement. No more lies about abuse, no more false allegations, no more social media posts. If she violates it, she pays $10,000 in liquidated damages per violation." Ashley's lawyer started to protest, but Ashley cut him off. "Fine, I'll sign it. Just get me out of here." The agreement was drawn up and signed that afternoon. Ashley walked out without looking at me once.
I wish I could say that was the end of it, but life had a few more twists in store for Ashley. And honestly, watching karma do its thing was deeply satisfying. First, Derek. His divorce went through about 2 months after ours was finalized. His wife took him to the cleaners. She got the house, full custody of the kids, child support, and alimony. Derek was left with a crappy apartment and debt up to his eyeballs. But that wasn't even the worst part. About a month after his divorce, I got a call from Jake. "Dude, you need to check out the local real estate Facebook group. There's some drama going down." I logged in and found a post from one of Derek's former clients. Apparently, Derek had been lying about property values, inflating numbers to get bigger commissions, and pocketing kickbacks from inspectors who'd overlook issues. The client had filed a formal complaint with the state real estate board. The investigation didn't take long. Within 6 weeks, Derek's license was suspended pending a full review. Then it was revoked entirely. He was done in real estate. Last I heard, he was working at a car dealership. Not selling, detailing. As for Ashley, her downfall was even more spectacular. She'd moved in with Derek after our divorce, but once his income dried up, things got tense. Neighbors in their apartment complex reported hearing them fighting constantly.
One fight got so loud that the police showed up for a domestic disturbance call. Then, about 3 months after the divorce, Ashley got hit with her own ethics complaint. Turns out, one of her clients had discovered she'd misrepresented a property, failed to disclose major foundation issues that she absolutely knew about because the inspection report had been in the file. The client sued for fraud. Ashley tried to fight it, but the evidence was clear. She'd deliberately hidden information to close the deal. The State Real Estate Commission suspended her license for 2 years and fined her $25,000. Without her income, she couldn't afford rent. Derek kicked her out. So much for true love. She moved back in with her parents, who, from what I heard through the grapevine, were furious with her. Her dad apparently gave her an ultimatum: get a job, any job, or find somewhere else to live. She ended up working retail at a clothing store in the mall, the same mall where she used to shop for expensive designer outfits. But the cherry on top? Her friends started to abandon her. Once the truth about the affair came out, and once people realized she'd been lying about me, the support dried up fast. The social media posts full of "you're so brave" and "stay strong" disappeared. People unfollowed her. Her best friend from college apparently told her to never contact her again after learning the full story. Even her family kept their distance. Her brother, who'd called me after the divorce to apologize for believing her lies, told me at a chance encounter at the grocery store that their family was done making excuses for her. Meanwhile, my life got better. A lot better. I bought out Ashley's name from the house officially, refinanced, and made it fully mine. I repainted the walls, replaced the bedroom furniture — I couldn't sleep in that bed after what happened — and turned it into a space that actually felt like home again. I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, I wasn't ready, but it felt good to meet people who weren't manipulative narcissists. I even went to therapy for a few months to work through the betrayal and trust issues. It helped. My buddy Jake introduced me to a woman named Sarah who worked as a nurse in the ER. We hit it off immediately. She was kind, genuine, funny, and most importantly, honest. We've been together for 8 months now, and it's the healthiest relationship I've ever had. No games, no lies, just 2 people who actually respect each other. I got a promotion at work, shift supervisor, which came with better pay and better hours. My stress levels dropped, my health improved, I started working out again, picked up hiking, reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Life wasn't just good, it was better than it had been in years. And Ashley? Last I heard, she was still living with her parents, still working retail, still trying to convince anyone who listened that she was the victim. Nobody was listening anymore.
It's been a year and a half since I caught Ashley cheating. A year and a half since my entire world imploded and then slowly rebuilt itself into something better. People ask me all the time how I'm doing, if I'm over it, if I've moved on. The truth is, it's complicated. Am I over the betrayal? Mostly. I don't think about Ashley every day anymore. I don't wake up angry or hurt. But there are still moments, random, unexpected moments, where something will remind me of what happened. A song we used to like, a restaurant we went to, the smell of that Tom Ford perfume. And for just a second, I'm back in that bedroom doorway watching my life fall apart. But those moments pass faster now. They don't control me anymore. Have I moved on? Absolutely. Sarah and I are talking about moving in together. My house, not our house, feels like a real home now. I've got friends, hobbies, a career I'm proud of. I'm genuinely happy in a way I don't think I was even before everything went to hell. Looking back, I can see the red flags I missed. Or maybe not missed, ignored. I wanted so badly to believe that our marriage was solid that I explained away the warning signs, the secretiveness, the distance, the lies that didn't quite add up. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was overreacting, that everything was fine. It wasn't fine, and deep down I think I knew that. But here's what I've learned. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let someone gaslight you into thinking you're crazy for noticing their suspicious behavior. Don't make excuses for someone who's lying to you. And for God's sakes, don't ignore evidence just because you don't want to deal with the fallout. I've also learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it changes you. I'm not the same person I was before all this. I'm more cautious, more guarded. It takes me longer to trust people now. And I'm okay with that.
Being cautious isn't the same as being broken, it's just being smart. If you're reading this and you're going through something similar, here's my advice. Document everything. I can't stress this enough. Screenshots, videos, bank statements, emails, everything. You think you'll remember, but you won't. And if it goes to court, you need evidence. Protect your assets immediately. I got lucky because I moved my money before Ashley could drain everything. If I hadn't, I'd have been screwed. Open separate accounts, change passwords, secure what's yours. Get a lawyer, not next week, not when you have time, now. A good lawyer is worth every penny. Paul saved my ass and my financial future. Don't believe their lies. When I caught Ashley, she tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Crying, blaming me, trying to seduce me, threatening me. None of it was real. It was all designed to control the situation. Don't fall for it. Tell the truth. Ashley tried to control the narrative by lying about me to everyone we knew. It worked for a while, but eventually the truth came out, and her lies destroyed her credibility. Be honest, be factual, and let the evidence speak for itself. Take care of yourself. This kind of betrayal messes with your head. I went to therapy, I leaned on friends, I focused on my health. Don't try to tough it out alone. You're not weak for needing help. And finally, you will survive this. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know it feels like your entire world is ending. But I promise you it gets better. Not immediately, not easily, but it does get better. Ashley took a lot from me. My trust, my sense of security, years of my life. But she didn't take everything. She didn't take my self-respect, she didn't take my future, and she sure as hell didn't take my ability to be happy. I'm happy now. Genuinely, truly happy. Happier than I was with her, if I'm being honest. Because now I'm with someone who actually values me, someone who doesn't lie, someone who chose me and keeps choosing me every single day. So if you're going through this, hang in there. Document everything, protect yourself, get help, and remember, this isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of a really bad chapter. The rest of the story? That's yours to write. And trust me, it's going to be so much better than what came before. Update. A few people have asked what happened to Derek's wife and kids. From what I've heard, she's doing great. She got remarried about a year ago to a guy who actually appreciates her, and the kids are thriving. Derek barely sees them. He's got supervised visitation only because of some incident during the divorce that I don't have all the details on. As for Ashley, I blocked her on everything, but mutual acquaintances occasionally give me updates. Last I heard, she was trying to get her real estate license reinstated. Good luck with that. Me? I'm just living my life. And honestly, that's the best revenge there is. Thanks for reading. And remember, you deserve better than someone who lies to you. Don't settle, don't make excuses, and don't let anyone convince you that you're the problem when they're the one who betrayed you. You've got this.